administrators, deans have a responsibility to the students to ensure that they're learning the material. The only way you can do that is if you measure what the students are learning. And you have to measure them not at the very end. It's too late when they get their final grades. You have to measure them through the curriculum. You have to, as an administrator, be able to take a 30,000-foot look down and see how the students are doing globally. It's their investment. These students are investing a lot of money into the school to get an education. You, as the administrator, have to give them the assurances that they're learning that material. It's your responsibility, it's your fiduciary duty to ensure that they have that. We're able to use data in a way never ever before. With the internet, with instant feedback in the curriculum, we're able to use data to guide our education process, to adapt the education process to what's happening at that moment. And the idea is you can use that information to make the student better. You can adjust the curriculum to what the students know. You can step in when the students don't know things. This is a time that they're going to write about in 1,000 years, because this is the change that's happening. And I think using data points, using assessment, using programs like ExamSoft allow us to be at that cutting edge. We've increased our board passage rate from about 4 years ago, where we had a 70% pass rate, to now where we have over a 90% pass rate. On the board's passage rate, one of the things we've been able to do is identify where students are having trouble. We can drill down into the categories using ExamSoft and see what areas in the curriculum they're having trouble with. And by being able to identify that, we can focus our resources into those areas for each individual student. By being able to do that, we're able to predict where the students have trouble, get them the resources, and with those resources, they're able to do better on the boards. And that's one of the reasons why we've been seeing our board scores improve substantially. We've gone from about a 70% pass rate to over a 90% pass rate on the boards now. Early intervention is imperative. One of the things we believe is that when the final grades come out for a class, it's too late. If you wait to intervene when the final grades come, you've lost the student. For us, it's important to evaluate the students pretty much minute to minute, day to day, through their curricular content. With ExamSoft, I can get the information back on how they've taken the exams and step in after each component, each unit that they've learned. With that, I can step in, get them the resources early on, and not wait to the very end, so that when we get to the end, we've already helped students in need. We've been able to reduce our dropout rate from 8%, which is roughly an average for medical schools, to 2% by being able to predict what students are going to have trouble. And if we're able to predict what students are going to have trouble, we can step in and get them the resources. Now, this doesn't always have to be academic resources. Students in medical school often fail out not because of academic reasons. It's because of personal reasons interfere with their academic process. If we can identify what a student is expected to achieve and then note when they don't achieve it and step in, a lot of times we can identify problems before they can magnify into a student dropping out. By being able to do that, we've been able to reduce our dropout rate from 8% to 2%, which is roughly about a $2 million savings. One of the things that I think is really important for us to understand is faculty want to do well. Faculty want to become good educators. And what we're able to do with ExamSoft is we're able to review the exams that we give the students. And with that data, we give it back to the faculty so they can see how they've actually taught, what information the students were able to learn, what information the students had difficulty with. And by instituting this feedback loop, the faculty are able to understand where maybe some of the topics the students didn't understand and make the appropriate adjustments. So they can go in after the exam and say to the students, you didn't understand this topic, let's review it now. And they're also able to take that information and say, the students didn't understand it this time, so this is how I'm going to change my curriculum for next year to ensure the students learn it next time. And so that cycle, that continual review of the academic program, their curriculum, allows us to get better every year after every exam. Well, we've seen the number of students increase dramatically, and I believe that one of the reasons why students apply to a school is quality. When we're looking at schools, the only thing that really matters is quality. How good is the education? You improve the quality, you improve the ability to identify students who are having trouble and get them help. You improve your board scores. You continually review your curriculum. You improve the quality. The number of students increase because they see that quality happening and they want to be a part of it. Our numbers have gone up almost 3 times in the amount of applicants we have trying to get in our school just because of that quality. Accreditation is very important for every school in the United States. Accreditation bodies are starting to mandate that you have to show that you're actually teaching the student. Well, think about that for a second. How do you actually show you're teaching the student? You have a before exam, you have an after exam, maybe you have a board exam, but how do you know the student is actually learning it? One of the things we've been able to do with ExamSoft is we've been able to quantify how the students learn those core concepts that the accreditation body wants us to know. And what we do is we categorize them. So every time we write a question, we categorize that question to the competency, to the element that the accreditation body wants us to have. And then we track it. And then when the accreditation body comes, we can show them exactly what our student body knows for each educational point in their core competency that the accreditation wants us to assess. We can give them a graph. We can show them on every student what they've known on each of the core competencies. We can give them a global view of the school. We can give them a longitudinal assessment to show that here's what the students learned last year. Here's what we use those core competencies for is to change our curriculum. Here's what they're learning this year, and here's what we're predicting they're going to learn in the future. So we have that continual feedback loop on the core competencies that these accreditation bodies want us to know. And I honestly believe that this is important for America. We need to be able to show that our students are learning what they say they are. The taxpayers should want to know that. Everybody should want to know that a school is able to document that they're showing the students what they know, what they're saying they're teaching them. We have the ability to deliver that because we have an ability to measure it. Predictability is very important. The idea of what we're trying to do is early on in the curriculum, being able to predict how the students are going to do on their boards in the future. The value to that is if I can step in early in that educational process, knowing that a student's going to have trouble a year later in a particular course on the boards, I can get them help. I can get them the resources that they're able to use. Now, in order to build a predictive modeling system, you have to have data on the back end to be able to use to correlate to what the board scores are in the future. So what we do is we use ExamSoft to give us that back end data set, those biserials, those statistical measures that we need to be able to correlate to board scores. And then once we develop that correlation, we're able to start building predictive models of what the current student population will do in the future. And we find ourselves, we're very accurate. One of the things we found is when we look at overall GPA, we had about a 0.6 correlative value to GPA to board scores. By moving to a predictive modeling, looking at the metrics on each question and developing a model that way, we've improved our correlation to about 0.8, which is significant and highly predictive. One of the reasons we chose ExamSoft was because we could get the data out of the system very quickly. We had looked at other systems, but it was really difficult to get some of the key metrics that we need to assess the students out. For example, we're able to look at the biserials on the questions. We're able to get that information out quickly. We can look at the overall reliability, the Cooter-Richardson 20 ratios. We can get that information out quickly. We can look at the discriminative indexes, how difficult a question is. How well did the top 27% compare to the lower 27%? We can get that data out. The second reason is we're able to use that data to help us gauge our curriculum. We're able to get that data, we're able to get it into the curriculum committee very fast and use that data to help us guide and develop our curriculum committee in the future. And the last thing I really like about it is that we can make changes to our questions quickly. It gives us a centralized data bank for our questions. We can get in there, we can select questions based on difficulty level. We can select questions based on the biserial. We can go in there and change the questions and still maintain the history of the question and the statistics of it. So by having that data bank of information, it helps the school. We now are able to control the questions that we deliver to the students. And by doing that, we can help ensure that the quality of the questions, the assessments we give to the students, are of a standard that we demand. ExamSoft's solution for identifying students who are in trouble has been very successful for us. We've been able to reduce our dropout rate from 8% to 2% just by being able to identify what students are having trouble in the curriculum. By being able to identify which students are having trouble in the curriculum, we can get them help early on in the curriculum. By getting them help early on in the curriculum, we can ensure that they get the resources necessary to make it through the educational process. For us, we've been able to rationalize an improvement from 8% dropout to 2%, which translates roughly to about $2.1 million per annum. One of the things that's been very important for us on the student front is complete transparency. One of the things I found where I worked at other schools is the schools didn't want to give out the data to the students. They didn't want to release the statistics. It was all kind of secretive. My question is why? Why don't you want the students to know that? You should expect and demand the best. You want the students to expect and demand the best out of you. You give that data to the students, they're going to be the arbiters. They're going to be the ones that say, hey, look, we want to do better. The kids, again, are paying a lot of money to get this education. You should be completely transparent in what you give them, because by doing that, it's going to elevate your quality, it's going to improve your product, and you're going to get more students applying to your school.